When a well-known television journalist sat down with a veteran magazine editor for what was expected to be a routine conversation, few anticipated the reaction it would trigger. Yet the discussion quickly became one of the most widely dissected media moments involving Meghan Markle in recent memory. What followed was not a dramatic confrontation or sensational accusation, but something far more powerful. A calm, credentialed critique delivered by two figures deeply embedded in the media establishment. The editor in question has spent decades shaping public narratives at some of the most influential publications in the English-speaking world. Her experience spans political reporting, celebrity culture, and royal coverage. When someone with that background offers an assessment, audiences tend to listen, not because it's shocking, but because it's informed. And what she laid out during this conversation struck a nerve. What made the exchange especially striking was that the interviewer herself did not push back. This was not a hostile environment. In fact, the interviewer had previously appeared alongside Meghan Markle at public events, including major conferences and panels. She was not an outsider or critic by default. That context matters because it reframes what followed. When Meghan Markle's name came up, the interviewer openly acknowledged how divided public opinion has become. She noted the intensity of both support and criticism, then paused before adding something that immediately ignited online discussion: that much of the backlash, in her view, had a basis. Coming from someone who had shared a stage with Meghan, the remark carried unusual weight. The editor responded by conceding that Meghan has been subjected to extreme scrutiny, but she also emphasized that repeated missteps have played a role in shaping that scrutiny. Rather than offering a defense, the interviewer agreed. There was no attempt to soften the point or direct the conversation. That moment of alignment, quiet, unforced, said more than any argument could. From there, the discussion widened to patterns that have followed Meghan since her time in the royal family. One of the most persistent themes was turnover. Numerous staff members, both during her royal tenure and later in California, have cycled through her orbit. While individual departures can be explained away, a consistent pattern raises questions. The editor framed it not as a scandal, but as a working reality that has become difficult to dismiss. The conversation then shifted to Prince Harry, and the focus turned more personal. The editor described the current state of Harry's relationship with his brother as distant and unresolved. To understand why, she explained, it's necessary to understand what the brothers once shared. Their bond was forged under extraordinary circumstances, growing up under global scrutiny, losing their mother in full public view, and navigating an environment where privacy was constantly breached. That shared experience created a deep sense of mutual reliance. For years, they were viewed as a united front. According to the editor, that bond was fundamentally altered when Harry chose to publish his memoir. From William's perspective, the book crossed an unspoken boundary. It exposed moments that were never meant for public consumption, let alone commercial release. The editor suggested that the emotional impact on William went beyond typical sibling conflict. It wasn't just disagreement, it was a rupture of trust. The person who understood his life better than anyone else had chosen to reveal it to the world. That decision, she argued, reshaped their relationship in a way that may not be reversible. When asked whether reconciliation was possible, the editor's response was measured but pessimistic. She described William as pragmatic and emotionally resolved. In her view, once that assessment was made, there was little indication he would revisit it. Then came a revelation that shifted the conversation in an unexpected direction. The editor recounted a private anecdote involving a renowned conservationist who had met Harry shortly after the birth of his son. During that meeting, Harry reportedly spoke about his child in terms that reflected a very different future than the one now unfolding. He described his vision for his son as rooted in nature, far from the pressures of public life. According to the editor, many within the royal family had long assumed Harry would eventually leave royal duties, but they believed he would do so quietly, pursuing conservation work abroad. That expectation even extended to the late Queen. Instead, Harry's path led somewhere else entirely. Rather than a low-profile life dedicated to environmental causes, he entered a world of high-value media contracts, celebrity circles, and constant visibility. The contrast between the life he once described and the life he now leads became a central tension in the editor's analysis. That tension set the stage for the most debated part of the conversation, the editor's theory about Meghan Markle's role in Harry's departure. She rejected the idea that Meghan single-handedly caused the rift with the royal family. Instead, she argued that Harry already wanted out. Meghan was not the origin of that desire, but she was the means through which it was fulfilled. When pressed further, the editor was unequivocal. She believed Harry would have left regardless, with whoever had been by his side at the time. That framing reframed their relationship not as a fairy tale disruption, but as a convergence of incompatible ambitions. The editor's argument became even more pointed when she contrasted Harry's earlier aspirations with the life he now leads. The conservation-focused future he once imagined for his family bears little resemblance to his current reality. According to the editor, this discrepancy has not gone unnoticed by those who knew him well before his marriage. She suggested that if Harry were asked privately where he would rather be, the answer might surprise many people. The implication was not that he regrets his family, but that his personal vision may have been sidelined. Love, she implied, redirected him onto a path he never truly intended to walk. That observation resonated as the discussion turned back to Meghan. The interviewer, throughout the conversation, maintained a noticeable formality, consistently using Meghan's full name rather than adopting the familiarity often encouraged by her public relations team. It was subtle, but in media culture, subtle choices often signal broader shifts. What stood out was the absence of defense. As criticisms were laid out about management style, public strategy, and interpersonal dynamics, the interviewer offered no counterarguments. The silence spoke volumes. It suggested that the conversation reflected not gossip, but a growing consensus among establishment voices. The discussion then moved to family relationships, specifically Meghan's estrangement from her father. Recent reports about his declining health have reignited public debate about the situation. According to multiple accounts, communication from Meghan during a critical medical period came in the form of legal correspondence rather than personal outreach. Whether one accepts every reported detail or not, the optics were damaging. Critics point out the contradiction at the heart of the issue. Meghan has cited media engagement as the reason for severing ties with her father, yet she and Harry have built a post-royal career around extensive media participation. Interviews, documentaries, and memoirs have generated enormous income while airing private grievances on a global scale. The editor framed this not as moral judgment, but as a credibility problem. Public sympathy, she argued, has limits. When patterns of behavior repeat across personal, professional, and familial relationships, people begin to draw their own conclusions. That erosion of goodwill has coincided with visible struggles in the Sussexes' professional ventures. Several high-profile projects announced with great enthusiasm have stalled or underperformed. Film adaptations remain unproduced, media deals have yielded fewer results than expected, a lifestyle brand launch became the subject of ridicule rather than admiration. Industry observers have noted that the disconnect between announcement and execution has become a defining feature of the brand. Ambition has not been matched by delivery, and audiences are increasingly skeptical. Meanwhile, recent public sightings of Harry have fueled speculation about his personal state. Photographs from solo trips and social events show a man who appears more relaxed away from his family responsibilities. While appearances can be misleading, the contrast has not gone unnoticed. The editor did not frame this as scandal, but as sadness. A man who once wanted anonymity and purpose now finds himself navigating the same media pressures he claimed to escape, only without the institutional support he once criticized. In closing, the editor returned to the central theme: misalignment. Two people with fundamentally different visions built a life together under extraordinary circumstances. For a time, momentum carried them forward, but momentum fades. What remains are choices and their consequences. The interviewer's quiet agreement throughout the conversation signaled something larger than personal opinion. It reflected a broader shift in how Meghan Markle is perceived by figures who once might have defended her. The narrative has changed, not because of a single interview, but because patterns have become difficult to ignore. What was once framed as persecution is now being reconsidered as accountability. And as that shift continues, the story of Harry and Meghan is increasingly viewed not as a tale of escape, but as one of unintended exile from family, from credibility, and from the futures they once imagined.